All right, ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? It's David Simonism representing the Hip Hop Citizen podcast. I just mixed up broadcast and podcast. It's all the same. Normally, it's a broadcast when we're live. It's a podcast when I'm coming at you with a discussion. This is the first discussion of many, I believe, will be happening. Courtesy of Hip Hop Citizen. I like to thank Dialect. He's on the boards, as they say in the business. I like to also give a rest in peace shout out to two greats in the music industry. I like to give a rest in peace shout out to Little Richard, who has been credited with being one of the first pioneers of rock and roll in the American states. And I would also like to give a rest in peace shout out to Andre Harrell, who's been credited with the R&B soul of hip hop. So, speaking of hip hop, we got Tekashi 6ix9ine, who, if you don't know, came out of Brooklyn. He was a hot MC. I say hot because that's what people thought he were or is. He was a young up-and-comer, and he might have gotten hooked up with the bad crew, per se. And things didn't go according to the normal career of a musician. Some would say he had crashed and burned. He had numerous incidents where he would entice or incite violence inside the music industry with artists like Chief Keef or other individuals. Mainly, his own crew became known as corrupted, violent individuals. And by him knowing this, I believe Tekashi 6ix9ine put himself in a position of somewhat of a power, a head of a gang, a leader of a violent organization. And like most that know that story between the scorpion and the frog, there was a frog on the riverbank. Scorpion wanted to get across the river, asked the frog to carry him on their back, and the scorpion agreed to carry the frog agreed to carry the scorpion as long as the scorpion didn't sting the frog. They come to an agreement. They made a business deal. The scorpion gets on the back of the frog. The frog begins to carry the scorpion across the riverbank. Before they get to the other side of the land, the scorpion stings the frog. And the frog says to the scorpion, "Why did you sting me?" And the scorpion replied to the frog, "That's who I am." The scorpion was the crew that Tekashi ran with. And before they were able to become gazillionaires, which they were on the path to becoming very wealthy individuals in this business. I don't know how the money was divvied up, but the success of Tekashi 6ix9ine, I felt that the entire organization should have become somewhat wealthy. They could have spread out and got other artists and brought them in and done things like that. And some people enjoyed his music. I'm not a big fan of Tekashi 6ix9ine. I don't want this to seem like I am bashing him in any way for his decisions that he made regarding the organization that he fraternized with and associated himself with. So as the frog drowned and the scorpion drowned as well, so did 6ix9ine in his organization. Now, if you're not familiar with the incidents that occurred, there were several violent altercations that 6ix9ine was supposed to have been involved in. And he's recorded on several Instagrams or Facebook posts or Twitter, whatever the social media favorite that he was of, the crew were of. 6ix9ine was sending threats. So naturally what occurs is the government, the federal government, who we all know and love, they get involved. They pay attention to this because they want to see if there is any validity to the violence or the threats that Tekashi 6ix9ine is sending. And of course, instead of, you know, relaxing, making money, doing music like all the others that came up along with Tekashi 6ix9ine, you can name them all. Travis Scott, the Young Money crew, a slew of artists have come up and made big money in this business. Future, I can name them all, etc., etc., etc. Now, they weren't into exciting violence as Tekashi 6ix9ine, so I don't think the federal government has been watching them as well. So now Tekashi goes in and he continues to do his thing, rapping about what he would do to an individual or crew that came against him. He's making music with 50 Cent. He's making music with Nicki Minaj. He's making music with whomever wanted to be a part of the 6ix9ine heat, Tekashi 6ix9ine heat. And naturally, what occurs when the federal government puts an eye on you, when things go awry, which happened with the kidnapping, he went on a radio station, local radio station, New York, titled The Breakfast Club, and he started sprouting out how much money was supposed to have been made or not made, or his organization lying to promoters about what they're going to charge, or he's going to be involved in a show or what have you. And when you talk numbers with money, that don't make the ears of the government stick up even more. More than that. Nothing makes their ears stick up more than listening and hearing that there is some money being made or money swindling going on, and they get involved quick. RICO, racketeering, whatever the charges may be. So, of course, the group wanted their share because they felt the only way Tekashi 6ix9ine's music, unfortunately, in hip hop, you're only as real as you can be as your music is. What I mean by that is, if you're saying that you're gonna buck, somebody's gotta buck. In the words of Jay-Z, somebody better put somebody's body on somebody's iron or somebody's line. And Tekashi didn't want to see him in the group as well. They had their reputation as well to maintain and uphold, coming out of Brooklyn. And so everything went according to plan except the money distribution. So when the group decided that they wanted to collect, they allegedly kidnapped Tekashi and robbed him. I say allegedly because this is what Tekashi is stating to the reason why he did what he did. And what he did was, you can call it rat, you can call it snitch, you can call it an informant, whatever euphemism you want to use. He decided to work with the federal government against the organization that supposedly made him who he is. Because if you've seen Tekashi 6ix9ine, he's not 6ix9ine. So that means he was no threat to many people in the industry. You understand? What the thorough hooligans, the thorough individuals that would not take too kindly to him sending idle threats to them. These individuals were his muscle, was his realness, for lack of better terminology. Now, once he started involving himself in the violence, and he wasn't looking to be prosecuted for the violence, because he felt, one incident where he was in Los Angeles, he got into an argument or a dispute and quickly was outed in that dispute. The individual pretty much put his lights out. And you can see the guys that came with him looked at each other like, well, there's another one? I think they got fed up with Tekashi 6ix9ine and his antics. You understand? And they wanted to end probably their association with him. So this informant, rat, snitching, whatever you want to say, government uh, deal, whatever. I don't even know. I don't even know the terminology. This lifestyle, that lifestyle. He got involved with. He immediately decided that hey, look, these guys are no longer going to be my support team. So what do I need them for? You understand? Now he's come up with theories that, as he's been released, 2 million people viewed his post prison Instagram live. Supposedly it broken records. But I noticed on Instagram the other day that there is a Nicki Minaj streaming farm where there are several phones that streams her music and gets her numbers up. Now, I'm not saying that they got 2 million phones out there that was able to do that, but who knows what kind of association he's now with the federal government. Supposedly he's with them, working with them for the duration of his life. So, maybe they want to build him up back into his prominent status and get him back out there so that he could be fraternizing with the real people again and informing on them. Once the scorpion no longer needs the frog, or even just because that's who he is, and stings the frog again. Who knows if he's the scorpion or the frog? So it was a bad analogy. But to get back to the numbers, the 2 million people that enjoyed his stream. Now I seen a piece of it, and I'm hoping Dialect will show you a portion of it in this post recording of David Simonism. It was actually a return of David Simonism. I used to have the show, but that's neither here nor there. And in that live stream, Takashi discussed why he did what he did. He said he was kidnapped. He said he was robbed. He said his baby mother was had sexual intercourse with some of the people that he trusted, or one individual he trusted. I can't say for sure. I'm not too schooled on exactly who did what to whom in the crew, except Takashi, because he was actually the star, the celebrity. And some people would think he didn't do anything wrong. He's justified in what he's done and telling what those individuals were involved in. Well, which, of course, he would know because he incited it. He would talk about, oh, I'm going over here to Chicago. I'm going to ride around, look for this guy, that guy. And so it was perpetuated back and forth by Takashi and his music and his insults. And some people didn't even take him serious, or some people didn't even want a problem with the individuals that he was associated with. And again, like I said, in LA, they were looking at each other like, when is this going to end? When will this guy stop with the tough guy act? So he goes to prison. They put him in population. Well, not prison, jail. They put him in population. And he's getting threatened for assault here, threatened for an assault there. There was videos of him supposedly being in fights there and there. And of course, this is all into the favor of the government. They knew exactly what happened to a person of his stature. I mean, he's a small guy with a big mouth. I know because I'm one. You understand? So when the violence got too much for him, he decided it was best that he would associate himself with the government and tell what he knew. Now, earlier when I mentioned Tekashi 6ix9ine on the podcast, on the broadcast, the Hip Hop Citizen broadcast, we had a couple of individuals come in and say, the group that was associated with were wrong to involve him in any of the violence. But then if you go back and you check, they were merely defending what they thought was a business deal. They had invested in Tekashi 6ix9ine, maybe not financially, but reputation-wise. Now in hip-hop, Your reputation is everything. If if you didn't know that, a lot of people believe that uh, your word is your bond. It's street credibility. It's everything that you state yourself to be. You would have to be, or you're not real. And in hip hop, if you're not real, you don't sell. So now Takashi has a billboard today, and on 42nd Street, that is the biggest billboard in 42nd Street. That's not Walt Disney, and it says the king is back. Now the king of what? Can't be the king of the streets because he wasn't, as they say, authentic.